All right, Doctor Who, Rosa. I'm sorry this episode's a little late. It's a day late because I just needed to watch it again and process it. I just wasn't feeling up to a review after my first watch. But here we are, and overall, I really loved Rosa. I have a few issues, but I'll get to them later. As a Doctor Who episode, it's really good. I love when Doctor Who is actually about time travel, and this episode explores that incredibly well. I love that you've got a bad guy that's meddling in history, and the Doctor and friends have to nudge it back to normal. Of course, that's very much like the Time Meddler. I'm not the first person to make that connection. And it worked well there. It works well here. It's just a great concept for a Doctor Who episode. I kind of wish Doctor Who would do it more often and play with time travel and that kind of thing more regularly. It's also kind of like Back to the Future. Not entirely. Back to the Future kind of has its own personal thing going on. But, yeah, I just like stories like that, and it's nice to see Doctor Who do a story like that. And of course, all that messing with history and trying to get it back to normal stuff comes to an emotional head when the Doctor and her friends have to be the extra people on the bus, and that scene is just horrible to watch in a really poignant way. Like, it's a really good scene, because it would feel horrible to be in that experience, to be the, for Graham and the Doctor especially, the white people on the bus that forced the situation. Yeah, it's really tough, but in a smart way. The opening scene on the TARDIS, I'm going to go more in order now, I think. I don't know, I made the notes while I was watching the episode, and the episode was kind of engrossing me. So the opening scene on the TARDIS at the start is really awesome. I love that the Doctor is trying to get them home, and that they still haven't started just traveling for fun. And there's a clip from Arachnids in the UK that got released as of recording pretty recently, that kind of shows, at the start of that episode, it seems like she's going to get them home, and they're kind of like awkward, like they feel like, oh, I kind of would like to be traveling with you, and she's kind of like, oh, I kind of wish you were traveling with me, but neither group says it. So I kind of like this vibe. It's a dynamic for the crew that's really interesting. It reminds me of like the Fifth Doctor trying to get Tegan home, and then Tegan eventually starts just having fun, or the First Doctor trying to get Ian and Barbara home, and then Ian and Barbara just start having fun enjoying the traveling. It makes it more interesting, I think, than just friends traveling. There's more of a development of that relationship as it goes. The integration of history in this episode is very well handled. Including the racism. It's not something that we have dealt with really before like this in Doctor Who, and it's uncomfortable. It's as uncomfortable as it would really be, and it feels like the characters are actually in Montgomery in 1955. It's really impressive. On the other side of that coin, the moments and the scenes for levity are a lot of fun. They're very necessary, I think, to make the episode a breezy watch, because otherwise this would be way too heavy material, and it is Doctor Who. It is supposed to still be fun, and the way that they balance that is really good. Specifically, the Banksy gag, I absolutely love. Very similar to when the Ninth Doctor says about being Santa Claus, who says I'm not, Red Bicycle when you were 7. So I love that. I love that kind of stuff where, if anyone's going to be Banksy, it's going to be the Doctor, because that just makes sense. Banksy doesn't have one of those, or have I? It's just great. Anyway, the interactions between the four main characters just keeps getting better and better. I can feel like it feels like real friendships developing, and it's just so entertaining to watch. Some scenes that highlight that, the whole conversation after they get kicked out of the bar and the back and forth between four people is just amazing. The Doctor and Graham trying to distract the police officer by pretending to be a couple while Yaz and Ryan sneak out, that's amazing. And then the conversation that Ryan and Yaz have behind the dumpster is also amazing. And then the scene with Graham and Ryan by the creek is really funny and really nice. There's also a moment where Graham and Ryan talk about Grace again, and I'm glad that we're sticking with that. Just really good. You can really... These four people feel like real people, and it feels like they're actually becoming friends. And it's just lovely to watch. Rosa Parks is well portrayed. She feels actually like Rosa Parks. She's a strong character. I don't feel like there's much to say there, because until the end, she doesn't have much to do in the episode. She's just kind of living her life as normal. It's not like with other historical famous people episodes where the historical figure becomes a main player in the events of the story. Instead, the story is kind of happening around Rosa. And I liked that, because really you can't meddle with history that much. Like, if we're doing a story where history has to go its certain way and we're being gentle with history, because obviously Doctor Who messes with the rules of time travel. In one episode you have to be really careful in the past, and in another episode, just do whatever you want, it'll all work out fine. And if this episode is going for a you have to be careful thing, Rosa can't really be hanging out with the crew the whole episode. You know, we can't show Rosa the TARDIS. That just wouldn't, you just can't do that. So yeah, but as for what she gets to do in the episode, and of course by the end of the episode, what she, you know, did in history and does in the episode is just, she's just a very strong character. It's very nice to watch. The villain is a little underdeveloped because he's literally just a racist from probably the future, and that's about it. But really, I'm thinking about it, and that's all he needs to be for this story. Because for this story to happen, something had to start messing with history. And I can think of more interesting things that could have started messing with history, but they're all more complicated considering what I think Chris Chibnall is trying to go for with this series. I think he wants it to be approachable for newcomers, as approachable as possible, and as easily accessible. And as a result, I think it's better for the story to have just a simple racist villain. Like, that's it. If it was something more cosmic or something more, I hate to say creative because that makes it sound not creative, but I hope you know what I mean. If it was something more than what it is, I think it would be an extra layer and the episode would be too full. Whereas we just have this simple, this guy's a jerk and he's a jerk for really bad reasons and he's messing with history. We have to fix it. I really like that he recognizes the TARDIS, and that he has a vortex manipulator and went to Stormcage. That kind of stuff makes Doctor Who feel like a consistent time travel universe. And I really like that kind of stuff. I also really like that he's got a neural block stopping him from violence. That's a great idea. It creates more unique storytelling when it comes to his evil plan. Because if they were just trying to stop him from killing Rosa Parks, it would be a much less entertaining story. But instead, he can't do that, so he's not being that clever. I don't want to call him clever because he's, you know, a terrible racist, but he has to do something more interesting than just, I'm going to kill Rosa Parks. And as a result, we have this interesting story of, like, he's nudging history in the wrong way, our characters have to nudge it in the right way, and that's really entertaining. Now I'll get into some issues I have. I'll briefly, there's like 3 big things that I'll just touch on and move on. I try to be more positive than not, because there's a lot of negativity on YouTube, especially around Doctor Who. I find there's a lot of people who are like talking about how bad it is, and even when they like it, they're still talking about how bad it is. And I think that there's room to say this could be better, but I also think that it's important to remember this show's amazing. We love this show. Why crap all over it? Because it's good. But now that I've said that, let me say the things I don't like about it. So, the extreme close-ups, I really hope are toned down as the series goes on, because I find them really distracting. And in this episode especially, the scene where the Doctor is confronting the bad guy, I can't remember his name, but there's like, the whole scene is just close-up of the Doctor, and then close-up of the bad guy, and then close-up of the Doctor. Like, their face is the whole screen, and it's just, I don't know. They weren't great in the Ghost Monument either, but they were especially bad in that scene here. And I don't know if this is part of the visual direction of the series as a whole. I can't remember if they were in The Woman Who Fell to Earth, or if it's just something that Mark Tonderay likes. But either way, they haven't made the scenes feel more tense or more personal or anything like that. They've just kind of taken me out of the scenes that they've been used in. I've just been taken out a little bit by the very, very extreme close-ups. Another problem more specific to this episode, I don't care for the use of the song at the end of the episode. Again, I was just distracted and slightly taken out of the scene. The moment still hit. I just think it would have hit harder with score in the background. It's not terrible, and I've seen comparisons to Vincent and the Doctor that similarly used a pop song. I love Vincent and the Doctor, and I love that song's use there. I don't know. I just don't think it fit well here, but that's just me. I also really don't like that it was played over the credits in the Next Time trailer. It just felt really out of place. But that's just me. You know, I'm a hypocrite because I like when they did it in Vincent and the Doctor. I don't like it here, but it's just used, it's just how it was used. I just didn't like how it was used here. And my third thing, I just don't like that Ryan shoots the villain into the past at the end. That doesn't seem like the kind of thing the Doctor would have allowed, no matter how bad the bad guy was. And it didn't feel earned by the story. Ryan shows up, the villain says some racist stuff, and Ryan shoots him. And I don't know. It just feels weird. I liked Ryan congratulating himself on it, though. That was funny. I'll admit that. But the moment just kind of felt unnecessary. I feel like they could have thought of a cleverer way to dispose of the villain. If they had tricked him into using the device and it backfired or something, it overheated earlier, so you could have paid that off later or something like that. But instead, Ryan just shows up and shoots him, and that just felt, I don't know. I just didn't like that. I'd like to go through some scenes that I love just as I think of them. So the scene with Ryan spending time with Rosa and her friends, including Martin Luther King, that's fantastic. And I think it's a really necessary scene. Sorry, I've got a notification on my phone. I'm just going to leave this in. The scene of the TARDIS crew researching and planning on how to fix history is a really entertaining set of scenes, and really, it's just enjoyable to watch. I just love watching characters with a mission. On Doctor Who especially, I think it's nice, every character has their little thing. So there's a part where Graham goes with the bus driver, Ryan goes with Rosa, Yaz goes, I can't remember where Yaz goes, and then the Doctor goes to the villain. Where does Yaz go? I think Yaz goes and plots a timeline for Rosa's day, on the important day. And I like scenes like that, and that kind of happens with the planning scene where, Graham has the bus routes that go by Rosa's work and home, and, I hope you know what I mean. Because I'm moving on. The final scene in the TARDIS is, I think, just wonderful. I love moments like this after a story, after the resolution, where life has kind of calmed down and our characters can just reflect on what's happening. I think that those are really fun scenes. I think of at the end of Unicorn and the Wasp, when the Doctor and Donna are just talking about how Agatha Christie's life went. And I just like scenes like that where we kind of, and I guess they tend to happen after historicals because we know what happens definitively in real life to some of the characters in the story afterward. But I just love them watching, she gets honored in her life eventually. She is appreciated. Life's hard for her, but she's an important figure. And I love highlighting the asteroid named for Rosa Parks. I think that's a lovely addition too, because this is a sci-fi show, and integrating a real science thing that kind of ties to a history thing, that's just great. On the topic of the TARDIS, I'm getting more used to it. I don't love it, but I'm acclimating. So just as a little update, because last week I was really hard on it, and I don't like it, but I'm getting used to it. So that's it. I thought this was going to be a shorter thing, but it's turned out that I had more to say about it than I thought I did, which is good, because it was a really good episode. And if I was going to rank, I'm not going to do this every week, but if I was going to rank these first three, because the first three of every series is kind of a thing with some exceptions, but usually the first three is like modern day Earth, future history, or history future. That's kind of what the new series has done with the first three episodes. And if I were to rank these first three, I think for me it would be Ghost Monument, Rosa, Woman Who Fell to Earth. But really, they're all consistently pretty good. They've not been my favorite all-time episodes of Doctor Who, but they've been really good. And I'm really excited for next week's. I think Arachnids in the UK looks really good. I don't know why, but there's something about a fun, spooky spider story in modern day, I guess it's Sheffield, but modern day Earth, that it just looks classic and cool and fun. And I talked earlier about the scene that they released, and I think that scene is one of the best scenes. I don't know, there's something about it that just really hit me in a place where I'm like, yeah, this is what I want to see. I want these moments of they're gonna travel the TARDIS, and we're kind of building to that, and I love that. So yeah, I'm excited for next week's. I hope it doesn't disappoint me. That's a bad way to look at it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate everyone who watches. Not that a ton of people do, but I appreciate that anyone watches at all. I have a Twitter. I have a podcast. that you could check out. I'm working on a possible Halloween video to go out in between this review and next week's review, I think. Let me check my calendar. Yeah, so if I get that Halloween video made, it'll go out in between this week's and next week's weekly reviews, but I don't know if I'll get around to making it. We'll see. Anyway, thank you again so much, and I'll see you at the latest next week, or possibly earlier. I actually won't see you, and you won't see me, because these videos are mostly audio. I'm rambling. Bye!